Word about Grand Duke Lavilla's imprisonment spread quickly after the delegation from Elisaria returned from the Celestial Isles. The revelation sparked widespread conversations. Some, like Aldrich, harbored suspicions but opted for silence. Others were outraged. However, as the date for the paternity test loomed, Grand Duke Lavilla's predicament gradually faded from public discourse. On the day of the paternity test, another revelation unfolded. Rose's false parents, William and Martha, embroiled in the turmoil surrounding Grand Duke Lavilla, departed the Celestial Isles abruptly.
"We've discovered clues about our other daughter. The clues will be useless if we delay. We must leave immediately. We promised to conduct the paternity test later."
Whether Queen Rose descends from a fallen noble family, or whether she is a commoner, it is not an immediate concern for us.
Their justifications raised suspicions among many, but the couple had already vanished. The focus shifted from the vanished Viscount and Viscountess to the impending revelation of Princess Beatrice's true lineage. As the time drew near for the results to be announced, the air thickened with anticipation and uncertainty. Before boarding the carriage destined for the royal court, Rose's gaze fell upon Beatrice after a prolonged separation. The child was cradled in the arms of Viscountess Amelia, her newfound caretaker.
Babies grow up so fast.
Viscountess Amelia, wary of Rose, didn't meet her eyes and responded cautiously.
Yes.
Even amidst Rose's predicament, Viscountess Amelia's fear persisted. Rose's cold inquiry cut through the air.
Do you also doubt that the princess is the king's daughter?
Viscountess Amelia, bound by duty as the princess's nanny, answered without hesitation.
I believe Princess Beatrice is the king's daughter.
Viscountess Amelia, uncomfortable, boarded a separate carriage. Aldrich's shift in demeanor had wounded Rose deeply. In contrast, Viscountess Amelia's betrayal left an indiscernible mark.
Why did she save me when the maid rushed at me with a chair to kill me? She does not care whether I live or die.
The memory of Viscountess Amelia's intervention stirred a mix of anger and curiosity in Rose.
Why did she save me, if she would betray me anyway?
As the carriage set in motion, the rattling made Rose shudder. She closed her eyes, hand on her belly, a familiar gesture. Upon arriving at the royal court, Rose stepped out, shoulders lifted proudly. She was confident about the test result and determined not to admit her troubled past.
Once the paternity test is settled, they can't use my past against me.
She believed she could endure as long as she avoided severe punishment. Rose envisioned a future where the princess, or perhaps Duke Elegy, could aid her, just like King Henry had rescued Bronwyn. A frown creased Rose's forehead as she looked up at a pillar in the regally decorated courtroom. She saw a flash of a familiar figure behind the pillar and craned her neck to see if it was indeed who she thought it was.
Duke Elegy!
But just as quickly as he appeared, he was gone.
How could Duke Elegy be here? Could it be I imagined him because I just thought of him?
She began to walk towards the pillar to see if he was hiding, when a knight approached her.
"Your Majesty?"
Wait a moment.
Walking towards the spot where she thought Duke Elegy was, Rose found only a custodian engaged in sweeping. She turned away, contemplating her momentary confusion. Perhaps what everyone was saying was true. Maybe she was going mad.
Maybe the man I saw was this custodian. His clothes flutter just like Duke Elegy's.
"Your Majesty, you must hurry. The king is waiting."
Nodding, Rose made her way to the site of the paternity test. Aldrich and Viscountess Amelia were already present. As her eyes met Aldrich's, memories of Bronwyn's portrait in his bedroom flooded Rose's mind. Unable to bear the weight, she shifted her focus to the princess in Viscountess Amelia's arms. The baby's smile warmed Rose's heart, and a reciprocal exchange of smiles ensued. The child's recognition brought tears to Rose's eyes, but she fought the urge to cry.
Soon everyone who doubted the princess would have to shut their mouths and bury their heads in the ground.
Guided to a lectern-like structure at the test site, the custodian instructed them to stand on either side. The setup eerily mirrored their wedding vows. A cloaked man stood by the judge. Rose looked up at him.
Your fingers will be pricked, and blood will spill on the gold plate, where the mage to my left will perform the test. I will hold the princess.
The plate contained a clear liquid. Aldrich handed the baby to the judge, and the instructions were given. Rose hesitated to prick her finger. Aldrich, reluctantly but determined, reached for his knife, grabbed her wrist, and cut the entirety of her hand. Blood poured onto the plate. As the mage mixed the blood with a special liquid, the baby's foot was pricked, eliciting a cry. Aldrich frowned at the sound. The court fell silent as the mage mixed the blood in the plate. Bubbles formed, and the atmosphere grew tense. The mage lifted the plate to his mouth and drank the liquid. The mage's eyes rolled to the back of his head. The silence was deafening. After a moment, the mage, with a pale face, made a startling declaration.
The princess is not the daughter of King Aldrich.
The courtroom broke out into hysterics among the officials, as Aldrich's face stiffened and his eyes darkened in response to the paternity test results. Rose, taking steps back, felt the distance between them widen. She turned pale, desperately denying the outcome.
No, it can't be. Your Majesty, it doesn't make sense.
Aldrich remained motionless, sighing lightly.
Doesn't it make sense?
He took Beatrice from the judge and looked at Rose.
Yes, as you say, this doesn't make sense.
This time, he meant himself and her as a unit.
I don't mean that.
Aldrich clenched his fists repeatedly, struggling to contain his anger. His emotions were in turmoil, pained by the revelation that the princess wasn't his daughter. A heavy silence enveloped the onlookers, unsure how to react to this unprecedented situation. Only the cries of the princess, disturbed by the drawn blood, broke the stillness. People began to disperse, and Aldrich walked to where his closest confidant, Baron Lant, stood, Rose desperately trailing behind him, crying and begging for his reconsideration of her.
Baron Lant. Yes, Your Majesty. What am I supposed to do now? Your Majesty, bring the man.
Rose raised her head curiously.
What man?
Suddenly, there was a commotion as Aldrich's men brought in Alan.
Why is he here? Your Majesty!
Ignoring her, Aldrich turned to the judge.
Judge. Yes, Your Majesty. Do another paternity test to see if the princess is this man's daughter.
Aldrich's order was categorical and cold.
Your Majesty, let's repeat the test. It doesn't make sense. The princess is our daughter. The test must be repeated.
Do it.
The judge hesitated, and Alan desperately shouted for Rose's help.
Let me go! Let me go! Rose! Rose!
Alan's desperate plea fell on deaf ears as Aldrich's patience wore thin. I do not enjoy repeating myself. Bring that man. The men who had escorted Alan into the courtroom dragged him further towards where the test was to be conducted. The judge returned to his position and addressed Rose. Queen, please stand here. Rose, fists clenched and teeth bared, vehemently refused.
I won't do it unless the test is with King Aldrich. I'll not take a paternity test with that man. It's an insult to me. Your Majesty, stop this.
The judge hesitated, glancing at Aldrich, who was frowning. Alan fell to his knees, pleading innocence.
Your Majesty, I have nothing to do with the princess. I only met Rose again after she became your concubine.
Enraged by Alan's direct address, Rose kicked him in the shin, causing blood to spurt out of his knee. Aldrich gestured to his knights, who surrounded Rose and dragged her to the test structure.
Let me go. Let me go. I am the queen. You can't do this. Your Majesty, I am still the queen. You can't do this.
I can and I will.
Rose's miserable screams softened the hearts of some weak nobles, but most did not bat an eyelid. The two knights released Rose once her blood was drawn. Rose staggered back, then cried and pushed the knights. But that didn't relieve her anger, so she clenched her fists and struck the knights who treated her harshly. As she was still the queen of Elysaria, the knights received Rose's blows without resistance, as Aldrich gave no special orders. But their faces turned darker with each blow, and some of the intelligent nobles clicked their tongues. They knew that if Rose divorced or was removed from her position in the future, these knights would remain with her. It was foolish to make them her enemies. Aldrich spoke coldly. Hurry up. Once Aldrich spoke, two other knights grabbed Alan and dragged him to the structure. Rose stopped hitting the knights. The knights' attitude towards Alan was harsher than before. It was harder for many to watch. As they dragged him into the structure, they forcibly extended his hand and cut the center of his palm with a dagger without hesitation.
Ah!
As Alan screamed in pain, a lot of blood fell onto the plate.
Your Majesty, show mercy!
The mage dropped some of the princess's blood, previously extracted with the unique tool, and mixed it with the clear liquid from the royal court. Just as before, it bubbled. The mage drank the liquid as he had before. His eyes rolled back. This time, he remained still longer than he had before. His face cringed. Something was wrong.
The queen has a child with this man. There is an unknown component to this child. Blood is missing. The fact remains that Rose and this man have had children together, and the princess is not of King Aldrich's bloodline.
At the mage's declaration, the murmurs suddenly became louder. Aldrich felt tears fall down his cheeks as he ran his hands over his eyes. Surprised to see the king's tears, those present took pity on Aldrich, whom Alan and Rose had deceived.
No, it's not true, Your Majesty. I hate to see this man's face. How could I have a child with someone so loathsome?
Rose screamed madly and knocked over everything on the structure.
There is no way I could have a child with such a man when I had your Majesty by my side. Your Majesty, the princess is your daughter, your only daughter. The mage is deceiving you.
Rose screamed in despair, but the nobles present considered her more pathetic. No matter how difficult the situation is, how dare she speak to the king like that?
It is disrespectful.
Even if she wears fancy clothes and sits on the queen's throne, she can never purify her blood. Those present scorned Rose due to the disrespectful manner in which she addressed the king. Julian laughed in the distance as he scribbled something with his quill. What will happen when it becomes known that Rose's story was a sandcastle built on a lie? A vicious smile appeared on Julian's face. Suddenly, Duke Elegy, who had not been called, appeared. "Oh, are the test results out yet?"
The meeting ended after Princess Charlotte communicated her unexpected request to marry my brother, and I went out with Henry for a walk in the garden.
I was surprised to see you suddenly appear. You had a furious face.
It's just that I was a little confused. Henry, seemingly understanding the misunderstanding, adopted a serious expression.
My queen.
Although it was due to Sir Ivar that I misunderstood the situation, I still felt an ache in my chest at the memory of what happened. The mere thought that he might have a concubine was painful, and it broke my heart. I had wanted not to accept his love completely, not to love him so deeply that I could walk away even if he hurt me. But I failed. Henry, realizing my pain, took my hand.
You can rest easy. I will never allow Oscar to marry someone he didn't want to.
I chuckled softly. He had no idea what was really bothering me. You're not a perceptive person.
What?
It seemed he feared I would be offended by Princess Charlotte's request to marry my brother.
Oh, on the contrary, my queen, I am pretty perceptive.
If someone told you that, you'd better doubt what that person tells you in the future.
My queen, even you told me once that I'm perceptive.
I am the exception because you love me.
Ah, that's true.
You are the exception for me.
Really? My queen, a moment ago, what were you about to say?
Don't you say you're very perceptive? If it's true, you should be able to figure it out yourself.
I can guess, but I want to hear it from you.
I'll ask my brother what he thinks about Princess Charlotte's request.
Why suddenly change the subject, my queen?
I love you. And instead of responding, he leaned in and kissed me deeply. This is how most of our conversations ended these days, and I had no problem with it.
The nobles and officials turned to the voice and saw Duke Elegy at the door of the royal court. But he was not alone. He was carrying a child who looked around with fearful eyes, identical to the princess, also resembling Rose.
Why do you have Isidore? Isidore!
Alan began to shout and run towards his son, but was immediately blocked by the knights. Aldrich suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head as Duke Elegy appeared amidst the chaos. increasing his anger.
Duke Elegy, what are you doing here?
I don't know how this child came to me. I heard that the child's father and mother were here, so I came to return him.
Alan was now pressed against the floor by the knights, crying out incessantly,
Isidore! Isidore!
With one swift blow to the face, the knights ensured Alan would shut up, at least for now. Duke Elegy glanced briefly at Alan and then returned to Aldrich. Rose looked on, and it became clear to her that the man she had entrusted with everything did not care about her.
Let the poor father go.
After the knights released Alan on Aldrich's order, Alan ran to the Duke to snatch Isidore from him. The Duke handed the child over to him without resistance. Overwhelmed with emotions, Rose had asked Duke Elegy to take Isidore to a family wanting a child. She did not understand why he had appeared here, nor why he had used the expression, the child's father and mother. However, now was not the time to think about that.
Your Majesty, the princess is your daughter, please believe me. Your Majesty has always believed in me. Please believe in me once again.
Rather than argue with Duke Elegy, Rose pleaded with Aldrich again. But it was useless. Aldrich was so angry and hurt by this situation that he didn't want to hear any excuses now. When he first met her, Aldrich considered Rose as pretty and delicate as a wildflower, innocent, honest, and without greed. He thought she was completely different from the nobles. While he was disappointed by her numerous times when she was his concubine, Aldrich believed that Rose truly changed after becoming the queen, as she tasted power and was looked down upon by the nobles. However, this conviction disappeared once it was revealed that the princess was not his daughter.
Does the fact that the princess is not my daughter mean that Rose mocked me even in those days full of her purity and joy? Since when did Rose deceive me? Was it a coincidence that she fell into the trap at the hunting ground?
A noble onlooker interrupted his inner thoughts with a strange request.
Your Majesty, we should also take this opportunity to discover if the rumor that Rose lied about her past is true.
The nobles agreed, one after another. Rose was enraged. Her eyes became bloodshot as she watched the nobles demand that the queen take a test to determine if this was the child the mage spoke of. She suddenly wanted to shout, "King Aldrich accepted me, even though he knew all about me." She was annoyed that Aldrich was playing the victim while she and the princess were in a bind, and she wasn't entirely incorrect. Although Aldrich did not know about Isidore and Alan, he knew she was a runaway slave, and he decided to deceive the nobles. Of course, most of the nobles would not believe her, but Rose would be satisfied to sow doubt in some of those present, as she wanted to harm Aldrich as much as possible. It would only take a moment to reveal this secret, but there was no guarantee that it would turn out how she wanted. In contrast, it would be an ace in the hole if she kept the secret. She clenched her teeth and glanced at Alan. She has no shame.
She wanted to make her illegitimate son a prince. It wasn't enough for her to hide her past.
His Majesty will be divorced soon, right?
What divorce? He should throw her in the dungeon.
His Majesty left Queen Bronwyn for someone like that.
Tisk, tisk. The nobles talked non-stop, but Rose would not stop pleading.
Your Majesty, it was a mistake. The princess is your daughter, I swear it. Please, let's repeat the test. Your Majesty, please, one more time, please.
It had already been made public that she was not my daughter. Is there any need to repeat the test? How many more times do you want to humiliate me, Rose?
Your Majesty.
Do a paternity test on that child. I don't need to see this. Then he turned and left the royal court. Rose tried to chase Aldrich, but was stopped by the knights. You must obey the king's order to take the paternity test. Rose struggled to shake off the knights, but they didn't care, having been beaten by Rose before. The queen would soon be deposed anyway. Alan, who still held Isidore in his arms, was roughly dragged away again. In the process, Isidore nearly fell to the floor, but the little boy was unharmed, as the judge quickly caught him. Viscountess Amelia, who now held the princess in her arms, watched the situation with bated breath and decided to follow Aldrich. Aldrich's heart skipped a beat when he looked at Beatrice and Amelia following him, but he did not order them to stop. Instead, he got into the carriage and left without a word. After Viscountess Amelia got into the carriage in which she had come with the princess, her carriage followed Aldrich's carriage. Viscountess Amelia wrapped her arms around the princess, whose eyes were reddened, and patted her back.
Princess, I will protect you. No matter what others say, you are still a princess.
Having taken care of the princess from birth, Viscountess Amelia had become very attached to the baby. She didn't care if the baby wasn't a princess. She felt sorry for the baby who everyone would judge through no fault of her own. She hoped that Aldrich would still love the baby, or at least wouldn't treat the princess too coldly.
Boo, boo! Princess, His Majesty loves you, but he is a little angry right now. He will soon hold you and take care of you again.
King Aldrich, Baron Lant, and Viscountess Amelia first returned to the royal palace. Their somber faces spoke volumes, leaving everyone with an ominous feeling even before the test results were revealed. Groups gathered in hushed conversations, speculating on Rose's impending fate. Will Rose be deposed?
It's fine if she's deposed. She should also be severely punished.
I'm more interested in what His Majesty will do with the princess.
What princess? She's a bastard.
As the rumors circulated, Aldrich headed for his room, but changed his direction towards his office. Inside, he immersed himself in a flurry of administrative tasks, reading, approving, correcting, and deciding on reports with an unusual intensity. Baron Lant observed Aldrich with concern, realizing the weight of the situation. Aldrich, who had left Queen Bronwyn for this daughter, now faced a dilemma. Balancing his love for the child with the public's perception proved to be a challenging task. Baron Lant felt for his king, who had left Queen Bronwyn, who had been by his side since childhood, for this daughter, who turned out not to be his. Just as Bronwyn had once grappled with the perception of being a villain or a fool, Aldrich now navigated the complexities of the choices ahead. The fate of Beatrice, the daughter conceived in Rose's days as a concubine, hung in the balance. The royal palace could no longer be her home, even if Aldrich desired her to live as a princess. Despite the mounting tension, Aldrich remained silent about his decision. Later, Baron Lant entered Aldrich's office.
Your Majesty, the child, Isidore, is indeed Rose and Alan's child.
Despite knowing this deep down, the confirmation stung. Aldrich rested his pen and let out a sigh. In the meantime, Henry repeatedly knocked over the ink bottle on his desk with his elbow or the back of his hand. He seemed to be in a daze due to Bronwyn's confession. Her confession was brief, but it made his heart race.
I'm a loved man, Haxon.
Haxon, Henry's advisor, was not amused by Henry's clumsy behavior. He eventually lost patience. Your Majesty, unless you are doing this to annoy me, please pay attention to your surroundings.
I'm loved!
Henry smiled proudly as he stretched his shoulders. Haxon frowned because he didn't know what happened to Henry to make him behave like that. He couldn't even guess, so he was uncomfortable that Henry was so happy. What are you talking about? Are you happy because you expect that when Princess Charlotte marries Oscar, Whitmond will at least give you a port?
Haxon, you have no heart. How can you only think about the things that would make me happy that would also affect you?
When Haxon looked at him in bewilderment, Henry clasped his hands together and said with excitement in his eyes,
Think about it, Haxon. At some point, my child will ask me, Dad, why did you and my mother get married? Then I'll be able to answer, Your father and mother married for love.
But that was a lucky case. You can't always marry someone you love. Henry, who had come out of his dreamy state, looked at him sharply.
What I meant was that marriages are usually arranged.
Why do you have that look?
Haxon, don't you want to get married?
What?
It's not a joke. I'm serious. Isn't there someone you like? Someone with whom you wish to start a family?
What are you saying? More importantly, Your Majesty, did you know that old Duke Kerridge fought with his son?
Yes, old Duke Kerridge will be forever consumed in his wrath. We only need to add fuel to the fire.
Henry smiled as he looked down at his ink-stained documents. He remembered clearly how old Duke Kerridge tried to harm Bronwyn and his child with food not suitable for a pregnant woman. Henry definitely wouldn't turn a blind eye. Your Majesty has so much on your mind that sometimes I worry that you can't handle it all.
Haxon, are you making fun of me?
This is useless. I'm going for a walk. Although Henry took it as a joke, it was not. Haxon was worried. Judging by Henry's behavior, his relationship with Queen Bronwyn was perfect. Queen Bronwyn and the baby in her womb were healthy. It was said that a huge scandal would soon rock Elysaria. The incident with Whitmond had been resolved favorably, and the Kerridge family seemed to be crumbling due to infighting. Everything was going well, but Haxon felt uncomfortable. As he pondered about the reason for his discomfort, he saw Grand Duke Bjorn sitting alone against a tree. His brow was furrowed, as if he wasn't thinking of anything good. Grand Duke Bjorn. Haxon had a good opinion of Bjorn because he had helped during Catherine's case, so he approached Bjorn and greeted him in a friendly manner. If he could help him with his problems, he would. Bjorn returned the greeting arrogantly, but Haxon asked without any displeasure, "Are you worried about something? You don't look well." Bjorn revealed a cold smile and answered honestly, only inside himself. "You have your worries." Bjorn's frown was because Bronwyn's name had appeared several times in Haxon's thoughts. It wasn't just Haxon. People thought about Bronwyn so much lately that it was hard for him to walk the streets. "Well, you don't seem to want to talk to me." Haxon smiled, embarrassed by Bjorn's reaction, and continued to his bath. Once Haxon left, Bjorn leaned against the tree again and closed his eyes. Bjorn was so racked with pain in his heart that he thought Bronwyn had better freeze his heart with her magic. Just then, he heard Bronwyn's inner voice nearby. He jumped up unconsciously. It was as if he saw a light in the distance.
I was taking a walk to calm my beating heart, fluttering with joyous anxiety after so explicitly telling Henry I loved him. A faint smile grew as I thought about the next time I saw him. I tingled all over, just thinking about it, and I was scandalized by the idea that I held this deliciously in my mind, and no one else shared it with me. But then I realized I was wrong when I looked up, and saw Grand Duke Bjorn not far away between the trees. His hair swayed gently as the wind blew. When his eyes met mine, his calm expression became distorted. He must have read my thoughts about Henry. But more than fear, I felt pity. Felt sorry that Bjorn suffered daily from the same pain I experienced when I misunderstood Princess Charlotte. Grand Duke Bjorn eventually turned and left quickly. Cedrica, who was next to me, complained in disgust. "Why didn't he come over here and greet His Majesty? That makes me annoyed." Matilda scolded Cedrica. "He may not have seen her. Haven't you noticed that you've treated people harshly since yesterday?" "No, it's not like that." "Ever since Princess Charlotte arrived yesterday, you've been in a bad mood. That's... Cedrica, is it because Princess Charlotte wants to marry Sir Oscar?" "No, it's not that. Matilda, I'll bash you with my spear." Cedrica immediately refuted Matilda, but she was distraught. Her shouts startled me as she tried to clear her troubled mind. I noticed that Cedrica's face was flushed. "Miss Cedrica, are you all right?" "I'm only interested in strong people. Sir Oscar is weak and innocent. I don't care if Sir Oscar marries." I remembered that Cedrica once asked me to take food that is beneficial for the body's recovery to Oscar. She walked away before I could inquire. Matilda, who started all this, muttered with her arms crossed, "This is suspicious." I turned to Countess Julia, who was snickering behind me. She seemed to find the whole situation amusing. "Queen, what will you do if Cedrica is in love with Sir Oscar?" Julia knew that my brother had a bad reputation in Elysaria. "In terms of personality, I think they would make a good match. Cedrica is a good girl, but she's a little clumsy. Besides, I don't think Cedrica is from a family worthy of marrying Sir Oscar." They all stopped talking suddenly and looked at me. I shrugged at them. My brother's opinion is what matters. Truth be told, both matches have strengths and weaknesses. Princess Charlotte was smart and determined, so she could control my temperamental brother. However, my brother becomes easily angered, so it could be a problem if he became the son-in-law of the King of Whitmond. In contrast, Cedrica would get along well with Oscar, because she likes weapons. But as they were both easily angered, no one could stop them if they caused trouble. In any case, my parents were here, and I did not need to intervene directly. But I couldn't help it, and that night at dinner, I could not bite my tongue. Did you hear that Princess Charlotte wants to marry you?
Yes.
What do you want to do? Do you want to marry the princess? Or do you want to marry another young lady? Oscar was so embarrassed that he didn't even look me in the eye, and we sat silently for some time. But I knew how to play his game. I sat back and waited.
I'm not interested in marriage, but I must do it to help the family. In that case, I think Princess Charlotte is the best choice.
Do you know Princess Charlotte?
No, but it will benefit the family.
That's true.
But it could be very stifling for me.
I fear that because you live a lifestyle with much more freedom than most young gentlemen, you may not enjoy enduring the traditional life of the nobles.
I only caused trouble by living my way. I never helped our parents or our family. Now I want to be useful. Please excuse me while I consider all of this.
After he left, I sat and enjoyed my meal in a rare moment of solitude, until there was yet another knock at the door. "Come in." But after a moment, no one came in. I was sure I heard the knock. It was strange. My ladies-in-waiting and guards would typically announce their names first. Could it be Henry? I opened the door, and it was Henry standing there, carrying my favourite dish. "Henry?" He held out the plate of food.
Here you go.
"Why are you suddenly bringing me this?"
I got the signal to bring this.
"I didn't send any signal."
Our child sent it.
"Liar." He quickly kissed me on the cheek.
Give that kiss to our child from his dad.
And then he planted another one.
My queen, that one is for you.
"Come into the dining room, and I'll show you what I have for you." The night was shrouded in darkness, with the moonlight struggling to pierce through the dense clouds. An oil lamp in Henry's hand flickered, casting feeble light on the dim path. I walked beside him, his firm grip on my hand providing a sense of security. How long have we walked in silence?
My queen, when did you start falling in love with me?
Is it important?
I want to write it in my diary.
Then I won't tell you.
Why?
The king's diary records all important events for future generations. The night behind us let out a soft chuckle. The inconsequential banter between the king and the queen amused the onlooking knight.
My queen, be honest. Do you avoid the question because it is not easy to answer?
Unfazed by the knight's amusement, Henry persisted. He was right. Yes, I don't know when I started to fall in love with you. Although I felt myself falling for quite a while, I did not know how deeply my feelings were rooted, until I misunderstood Princess Charlotte's intentions. An agreement with Sir Ivar and my ladies-in-waiting kept the misunderstanding secret. Henry shook his head in disappointment.
That can't be.
Do you know when you started to fall in love with me?
Yes, I know.
Then tell me.
I've always loved you, and fall deeper with each passing day. Many moments made me fall in love with you. If I had to tell you each one, we could be here for weeks.
Tell me at least 3.
You were the first woman who lied to me about being a man. You were the first woman to pat my rear.
Stop. I reached out to cover his mouth, but it did not stop him.
You were the first woman to feed me insects.
I was so distracted by our fun that I missed a rock in my path and stumbled, but Henry quickly grabbed me. Although I regained my balance, I leaned against Henry's chest for support. Since my hand was on his chest, I could hear his heartbeat. The smell of fresh grass mixed with the night wind and the sound of my husband's heart made me truly happy at that moment. But I was also curious and could not help but wonder if the man who had abandoned me was happy now.
Dense clouds also shrouded the moon in Elasaria, casting a somber glow on the sad figure of King Aldrich, who looked up at it from his study. His countenance mirrored profound anguish. I couldn't bear a child with the title of princess when she bore no drop of my blood. Beatrice wasn't even my illegitimate child. Thus she must be stripped of the princess's mantle. Rose, shrouded in secrets, compelled formalities to erase her from the queen's position, a position granted when Aldrich married her under the watchful eyes of the high priest. In stark contrast, Beatrice's princesshood hinged solely on her identity as the king's presumed daughter. A revelation debunking this lineage empowered Aldrich to decree her fall from grace with but a single utterance. Despite the legality of royal concubinage, Beatrice lacked the king's blood. Raised as a noble, Rose couldn't lay claim to royal lineage. Adopting Beatrice remained a remote option. Aldrich, consumed by anger, dismissed it outright. Though he might reconsider later, the mere sight of the child's face repulsed him, a face that bore an uncanny resemblance to Rose. Yet he did not cast the princess away entirely. Instead, he tasked Viscountess Amelia with caring for her in a secluded room. Aldrich's love and time for the baby wouldn't be forgotten, even though her royal position was stripped away. This added to his disconsolation. Recalling the once happy moments of the princess smiling in the crib beside his office desk, making adorable sounds like abu abu. But there was no one to share his pain, no one to comfort him. Holding the highest position in Elasaria isolated him from confidants. Bronwyn, who once played that role, was away in another country. Baron Lant, a loyal secretary, was not a friend with whom he could share his pain. Aldrich had treated him too harshly to allow that man to feel safe being a true friend. He leaned his forehead against Bronwyn's painting, sighing heavily. Bronwyn, I don't understand how this happened to me. The cold frame cooled his head slightly. Aldrich reminisced about the dinner with Bronwyn after he brought Rose to the royal palace. Bronwyn had wanted to say something, but he repeatedly avoided the subject because it concerned Rose. Many other fights had transpired, leading to the divorce, yet that one lingered in his memory. He still remembered Bronwyn's expression that day.
I should have listened to you back then.
The king slowly closed his eyes and exhaled in pain. And just as much as Aldrich suffered, Rose was feeling it tenfold. Resentment festered within her. At Aldrich, at Alan, at Duke Elegy, at Viscount Rothescue, at Bronwyn, at Schuyler, at Elasaria. Shock initially rendered her speechless, but the unfairness overwhelmed her as she revisited the events in her mind. She couldn't accept it, and questions tormented her.
How had the public perceived the princess to become Alan's daughter? And why did Duke Elegy align with Isidore? Beatrice's fall from princess to the laughingstock of Elasaria in less than a day rips my heart in two.
Rose sought answers from Kaya, desperate for information, only to be met with vague replies about Viscountess Amelia leaving the princess's room with the baby. The whereabouts of Beatrice remained shrouded in secrecy.
I don't know. Wouldn't it be quicker if you found out for yourself?
Kaya's disdainful look cut deep, challenging Rose's pride. Disgust welled up as she faced rejection from the maid she had chosen. Even the knights, restrained by the royal court incident, couldn't quell their anger.
Is that the way to address the Queen?
Rose had deliberately only employed needy women, expecting their obedience. Yet she couldn't comprehend their sudden rejection. Initially respectful, they turned fearful after Rose imprisoned one of their own, and nearly caused a maid's father's death over a slip of the tongue. Negative rumors circulating in the palace made others wary of Rose's new maids, who calculated their survival. Why be polite to someone destined to fall? They distanced themselves, anticipating a new queen in the Western Palace.
How bold you are. It is your majesty who is insolent. How dare you deceive the king with a bastard daughter? That makes you a bitch. Bastard? Did you call the princess a bastard? She's not a princess anymore. Also, she wasn't born to a married noble couple, so she's not a noble either.
Unable to tolerate the disrespect, Rose lunged at the maid, grabbing her hair as she tried to escape.
It doesn't matter if I'm a bitch, or if the princess is a bastard. You're an insect that a giant like me can squash. I'm the queen. Don't forget that I wouldn't hesitate to kill you. Stop it! Stop it! Shut your filthy mouth!
Kaya pulled herself away, ripping a clump of hair from her skull. Rose held it high like a trophy as Kaya stormed out of the room.
You tramp! Disgusting garbage! Bitch!
Rose bolted after her, and she collided with Duke Elegy, his chest a solid obstacle. Stumbling, he reached out to steady her.
Duke Elegy?
Gazing at him in a daze, her expression twisted. Memories of the prior day flooded back, a sense of betrayal and disappointment overshadowing her emotions.
How could you? You're a bad, horrible person.
Tears welled up as she confronted him. Duke Elegy, who had supported her through hardships, now evoked conflicting feelings of hurt and hope.
Why did you do that?
You don't look so good. Let's go inside to talk. Turn around.
The dimly lit corridor echoed with the hushed conversation between Rose and Duke Elegy. The knights on either side of the door cast curious glances at the unfolding drama. Rose flinched at the attention, turned abruptly, and retreated into the room. The Duke followed in silence, shutting the door behind him. The Duke started to sit in the chair he had sat in many times.
Will you not sit down?
All right. Do you want to know why I didn't do what you asked after kidnapping Viscount Rothescue's grandson? Or why I took him to the royal court? Or...
Thick thorns punctuated each word. The Duke, carrying a folder, revealed a stack of promissory notes and documents on the table.
Or do you want to know why I'll publicize these documents?
No. No way.
It's time for you to pay me what you owe.
Why? Why are you doing this to me? What do you want from me?
Oh, does it hurt?
Did you think it wouldn't hurt?
His calm demeanor intensified Rose's detachment from reality. Frustrated, she pounded on the couch.
What did I do to you? Why are you doing this to me? What did I do wrong? Weren't we friends?
Aren't friendships lost over money?
Did you always intend to collect from me? You never lent me money to help me, did you?
You catch on fast. A lot of them didn't understand until the end.
A lot of them? What do you mean?
Haven't you heard the rumors about me? I'm a very despicable and evil man.
But you were the one who supported me even when everyone rejected me.
People can wear masks, Rose. I played the part of the friend when it suited me. Now it suits me to collect what you owe.
I trusted you.
Trust is a fragile thing, my dear. It would be best if you had been more careful. It's time to settle your debts. And since you no longer have money, we must resort to other means.
The chessboard of power had shifted once again. Rose stared in shock at Duke Elegy.
I don't understand what happened. What drove you to do this?
Like I said, personal gain.
Don't lie.
Duke Elegy maintained a friendly smile, adding a chilling layer to his deception. Rose, astonished, took a step back, and his smile softened.
Does it matter why I did it?
What did I do for you to do this to me? I could expect it from Queen Bronwyn, but why you?
If I were you, I'd be more curious about something else.
Something else?
Rose's heart pounded, and her legs felt weak. She leaned against the couch as Duke Elegy spoke casually.
Well, you'll find out later. In any case, you don't seem to have the ability to repay me right now, and I don't think you can repay in the future either. Am I right?
Rose looked at him without saying a word. She wanted to tell him she would give him the money immediately. But he was right.
How could you be so evil?
Tears filled Rose's eyes, falling onto her pale lips. She looked pitiful, and even the coldest person would sympathize with her. Her heart ached because she trusted Duke Elegy. This was completely different from her shock when she discovered that Aldrich loved Bronwyn. She couldn't bear it, and asked again.
What happened?
Duke Elegy maintained a mysterious silence.
I don't get it. We got along well, right? You said you felt sorry for me, that it wasn't my fault that I was born a slave. You laid me in your room.
Yes, I did. Of course. It's not your fault you were born a slave, miss. Duke Elegy used to call Rose Miss during the days when she had been a concubine. At the time, when he talked this way, she felt reassured. She looked at him, perplexed. I kept it to myself.
What?
I pondered whether I should use it. In the end, I decided against it.
What are you talking about?
Nonsense. But I don't think this is the end of it. The person who gave it to me seemed to have a different opinion than me.
Wait, what are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Duke Elegy smiled and brushed a lock of hair away from Rose's face. I, too, have felt curious to know why. I know what it feels like. Though knowing the reason doesn't change anything, it's unbearable not knowing why. Rose's eyes wavered slightly. It was challenging for her to understand what he was talking about. Nothing drives a person crazier than an unknown evil. Once Duke Elegy left Rose's room, he headed to Aldrich's office. Aldrich frowned momentarily when he was announced, but allowed him to enter. He also wanted to talk to Duke Elegy. I'm glad to see your Majesty. Duke Elegy politely greeted him. Aldrich looked at Elegy with eyes full of hostility and displeasure. A few days ago, he had tried to send Duke Elegy back to his country, using the excuse of Rose's scandal. But after what happened in the royal court, Aldrich was also curious. What exactly did Duke Elegy want? At first, he thought the Duke hated him. But after he dared to bring Rose's first child to the royal court, his hatred seemed directed against Rose. However, that didn't fully explain his actions either. Now he had a chance to find out the answer. Why did you go to the royal court on the day of the paternity test? Because I didn't know what to do with the poor kid. I'm serious, Duke Elegy. I see. Then I will be precise. Duke Elegy took the folder with which he had surprised Rose earlier and placed it on Aldrich's desk. The document and the carefully arranged promissory notes were revealed. Aldrich's eyes widened slowly. Even if the borrowed money can't be repaid, I will, at minimum, take the port. Do you really want this getting out, after everything else recently?
I was working hard in my office when Countess Julia approached, looking concerned. Your Majesty, Duke Liberty is here to see you. Why does he want to see me? Countess Julia shrugged, bewildered. All right, let him in. I had recently heard that Duke Liberty had surrendered, like Marquis Keaton. However, unlike the Marquis, who had hung upside down like a bat, Duke Liberty only bowed slightly to avoid losing his dignity completely. I hadn't expected anyone other than Henry to visit me suddenly. Since becoming pregnant, I did no more work than necessary, and had to put it off whenever I felt a little tired or unwell. His visit was most unexpected, and there was no apparent reason for Duke Liberty to see me, whether personal or work-related. Rather than treat him coldly, I greeted him with a polite smile. Although we had differences, there was no need to be open enemies. After exchanging pleasantries, he began to talk like any other nobleman, discussing high society, the Celestial Isles, and Whitmond.
Your Majesty, I have to discuss something delicate. I don't know how you will take what I am about to tell you.
All right, say it.
Did you have a bad relationship with Rose in Elisaria?
What? Why was he talking about Rose now? I didn't think he wanted to know about how we got along, although it was suspicious. I tried to maintain a calm expression. He sighed, took out an envelope, and handed it to me.
Your Majesty, take a look at this.
I accepted the envelope, opened it, and took out the letter. Was infertility the reason for the divorce? The content of the letter was unpleasant. Judging by the content and wording, it seemed that Rose had written the letter. I forced myself to smile. Even now that we were far away, she would not leave me alone. I didn't know why she was trying to attack me by sending such a letter to a nobleman from my country, who happened to oppose me in principle. Wasn't she the Queen of Elisaria? Did she think that she should be the only queen in the world? Or is her happiness based on seeing others unhappy?
I don't know why the Queen of Elisaria sent me this letter, but I can guess. She wants to tarnish your reputation by spreading rumors about your past relationship.
Rumors and slander. She never stops.
I thought it best to bring it to your attention directly.
I appreciate your honesty, Duke Liberty. But why did she choose you to deliver this message?
Or perhaps she believes I would be sympathetic to her cause. Or maybe she thinks it would cause more strife between us.
I hope you won't let such baseless accusations affect our relationship, Duke Liberty.
Your Majesty, I've always valued our diplomatic ties, and won't let personal matters cloud my judgment.
I appreciate your understanding. The Duke suddenly relaxed and sipped the wine Julia had brought for him.
Such a letter is a clear offence to the Celestial Isles. I can't believe Rose won't leave you alone now.
Indeed, the challenges have been quite notable, but diplomacy requires patience. The conversation flowed smoothly until Duke Liberty unexpectedly brought up Lady Nadine.
Your Majesty, being from Elisaria, you must know Lady Nadine well, right?
I was prepared for him to beg that I convince her to marry his son. She had become the object of affection for many men in many kingdoms, but she preferred to live as her own most loyal companion, and I sighed in preparation.
If my son still pursues Lady Nadine, can you tell her to reject him?
Duke Liberty said that.
I told Henry about my conversation with Duke Liberty that night in our shared bedroom. He cocked his head as if confused.
What do you think it means?
Well, it could mean literally what he said, or maybe not.
You're not sure?
No, but it is evident that Duke Liberty's son harbours feelings for Lady Nadine, but the reasons behind his father's unease are elusive. I'll have to speak to Lady Nadine herself.
So, you'll ask her?
I suppose, but there is something about the whole situation that makes me feel unsettled.
What is it?
Viscount Langdale already told me about this situation with Duke Liberty's son. Given the past of the Liberty family's alliances, I fear that they are planning something less than well-intended.
Yes, we must proceed with caution. In other news, what do you plan to do with the letter from that horrible woman?
I'll send it back.
But isn't it a secret?
Well, not anymore. Just because it's a secret letter doesn't mean sending it back secretly is necessary, right? I plan to make a formal complaint.
Good. That lowly fool once even tried to brand me a liar. I cannot wait for the day we expose her.